So it's Women in History Month, and we've been looking at how to include more female composers in our music studios. In this particular video, we're going to look at the stories and impact of 7 modern female composers from around the world. And we're going to look at how their stories, they really range from bringing out change in the music industry to how we actually see ourselves through their music. And so I want you to just get ready to be inspired in this video. If you would like more videos and resources looking at female composers from other eras, please make sure that you type in more female composers in the comments. That way, I know to make more of these. And if you have a specific era that you'd like me to focus on, just make sure you type that in as well, okay? So if we haven't met, I'm Rosemarie from the Unfinished Lesson, and I want a life where I have it all. I want to be able to have balance in juggling work and family life with twins. Plus, I want to be able to have the time and energy to be creative in the way that I teach. The Unfinished Lesson started as a way for me to help other independent music teachers like yourself get balance in their life and creativity in their studios. And honestly, you can have it all. By the way, be sure to watch to the end. I'm going to be sharing a resource that will help you add more female composers into your studio programming. So our first female composer is Keiko Abe. She is a marimba player as well as composer. She is the driving force behind Yamaha's 5-octave marimba, and that is the standard today that is used. She also has talked about how improvising led her to push the boundaries of what was thought possible on a marimba. The improvising that she did kind of opened her mind to possibilities. And so how can we encourage our students? How can we be inspired by her to push boundaries themselves? So number 2 is Graciela Agudelo. She is a Mexican composer and piano player. And for students that really don't like labels, don't put me in a box, they will probably be a little inspired by Graciela. So she never wanted to be tied down musically, which meant that she actually tried a lot of different styles, and it led to an avant-garde kind of style. And she saw herself as someone who pushed boundaries musically, but also honored the past. She has been one of Mexico's most important pedagogues or music teachers. She pushed for primary schools to have access to music education, that was just part of what was offered. She lobbied for musical protection of the traditional folk music of her country. And so maybe something we can learn from her, or something we can think about, is how can we help our students honor their cultural pasts? Number 3, and I'm going to apologize in advance because I will probably not pronounce this right. So Kaija Saariaho. She started composing with computers back in the 1980s. She has such a sense of humor when she talks about it. Oh my goodness. My students were blown away when they listened to her talk about it, and how they used to enter in the code into the computer, and then they would go and have dinner and relax and visit, and then a couple hours later come back and the coding would be almost ready, and they'd listen to it, and if it didn't sound quite right, they'd have to change the coding and then wait a really long time. So this is certainly dedication to composing. She was an early pioneer of electroacoustical music. What this means is taking computer music or electronic music and combining it with acoustic instruments. And so an idea for us might be, what might this sound like for our students? How could we take elements of electric music or computer music, and it could even be something as simple as GarageBand, and then combining it with them playing their instrument live? One of the quotes that I really liked of hers was that everything is permissible as long as it is done in good taste. And so think about the freedom that this could give our students if we had this approach when they're improvising, when they're composing, when they're trying to figure out what their voice or what their interpretation of a song is going to be. So number 4 is Elena Kats-Chernin. She was born in Uzbekistan, but she moved to Australia actually in the mid-1970s, and she has certainly been accepted and has thrived there. And we can see influences of both her Eastern European birthplace as well as Australia in her pieces. She has used her life experiences, both positive and the struggles, to create her pieces, and the emotions in particular from the times when she's used her music as a way of dealing with grief or frustration or whatever it might be. They really come through in her pieces, but something that's unique for her is that she always finds a bright spot in each of those situations, in each of those pieces, that it isn't just depressing, but that there is a bright moment, that there's hope. So an idea or an inspiration we can take from her is, how can we help our students use improvising and composing as a way of working through their emotions and the different situations within their lives? So number 5 is Adele. She's a British singer-songwriter, and her life experiences are apparent in every single album. Her albums are named based on the age that she was at when they were released. And it gives you a snapshot into her life. And it highlights how she's made her own path in her career. One of the quotes that I really liked from her was to be brave and fearless, to know that even if you do make a wrong decision, you're making it for a good reason. And something we can be inspired by, or that we can take from Adele, is how do we help our students develop their own musical voice and make decisions, whether they're right or wrong, and be able to really own those choices. All right, number 6, Lizzo. So you might be a little surprised I'm including her, but I will explain why. She is an American singer, rapper, songwriter, and flutist or flautist, depending on how you use the term. She has certainly made her own path. She was classically trained, but she's a pop star, and she's been a leader in the body positivity movement, which is incredibly important for our female students, not just our teen and preteen students, but even younger. In particular, that they can hear and they can see that they don't have to conform to a certain image to be successful or be taken seriously as a musician. One of her quotes that I really like is, "Never ever let someone stop you or shame you from being yourself." And so as we think about this, how can we make sure that our wording in lessons doesn't ever inadvertently shame or tell our students that no, you can't do that? How can we help them have this positive image of themselves, both as musicians and as people? Right, number 7, Taylor Swift. She's an American singer-songwriter. She has been a really big advocate for composer rights, in particular when working with record labels. There was a court case even involving that. One of her quotes is, "It's okay that everything isn't okay all the time." And how can we help our students embrace life's ups and downs in a healthy way? How can we help them understand that music, it's this portal into understanding that when we're low, there's hope for the future, or that when things are going really great, we can celebrate that. And so how can we be inspired by that? All right, now as promised, I have a resource for you that'll help you explore these incredible female composers. You can get a studio copy of Travel Through Time, Women in Music. In particular, one of the series that focuses on 21st century female composers covers all of the women that I talked about in this video. You can also make sure that you type in more female composers to let me know if you want more era highlights. There are so many amazing and inspiring female composers straight through from the pre-medieval times straight through to now, and not just from one part of the world, but from many parts of the world. If you want more like that, if you want more videos, if you want more information, make sure you type in more female composers in the comments. All right, so as I mentioned, make sure you type in more female composers in the comments if you want more era-specific highlights, and be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss our next series.